I'm going to start with an apology. This should be episode 165. Well, it is episode 165 of the Phil Swallow podcast. And I had prepared it the first time I've done this way. And I prepared it, scheduled it to be done at a certain time and date. And when I tried to put it live, it failed miserably. I still went ahead as if I was doing the podcast, but I don't think anyone knew that any better, any different. And at the end of it, I thought it would create a file or do something in YouTube to make it visible. And I'm still hopeful that this is working. I've got no evidence. If there's anyone out there, if any of you got a notification, my voice went funny there. If anyone out there has got a notification that Phil Swallow's gone live on YouTube with his podcast, please say hello. That'd be really good. Just on the chat, I've got a little kind of filter here. It doesn't appear to be anyone there at the moment. But I'm going to keep talking, and I have prepared for this. You'll be pleased to hear. So I'm going to go and try and do what I was meant to do in the first place, which is a bit of a year-end review. Good, it's working. Thank you so much, Julie. And I'm so sorry. I'm going to recap. This is a take two. It's been a bit of a hello. I've got two people on now. Guys, I might repeat this a few times. This is the first time I've done one of these live. I think the reason it didn't work is I'd forgot to say to Chrome, you're allowed to use your microphone and camera. Anyway, I've done that now. Brilliant. I'm delighted that you can hear from me. So I'm going to go ahead now and try and do this professionally, which will be interesting. I mean, professionally doesn't matter too much, does it? So firstly, and I'm getting a bit dry actually, so I'm just going to drink a water live. Not that matters. Feel free to choose your beverage of choice and join me virtually. So, yes, my target was achieved, and I'm so grateful to you guys for helping me to achieve that target. So I reached 1,000 subscribers on roughly the week before Christmas, and that was really quite a big milestone for me. I'm going to go through some facts and figures in a minute just to kind of give you a bit more context, because you might have, well, you will have no doubt, a very different touch point for the stuff that I do than I do from creating it. So I went into YouTube, which is full of all weird and wonderful stats. And I went in there and I picked out some key ones. There's only sort of 3 or 4 numbers and some top fives. I picked out some key ones just to give a feel for what's been going on and how things have grown in the last year. So the last 365 days, 71,106 views, which is up 30%, which is great. 4,839 watch hours, up 33%. And 391 new subscribers, up 54%. So that's really good news, really positive. Everything's kind of going in the right direction. And I'm, as I say, I'm probably going to repeat this a few times. I'm so grateful for the support that you've shown for what I do. Now, the top 5 videos, there was LA to San Francisco. That was the road trip one. That was 10,460. Croydon Airport with Ian Walker. That's 7,938. Croydon How It Is 2023 version. That's 2,254. More about that soon. And Kenley Aerodrome 2,227, Warlingham then and now 1,712. Now, the one that I wanted to highlight, I'll go over some of the others, but the one I wanted to highlight was the one about Croydon, because I've done those since 2020. I've done them in different format. This was the first time I went out and about and actually showed my face, because I'd previously just kind of done things on camera to music and captions and graphics and things. And 2,254 views. If you think that Kenley had 2,227 in a year, this is 2,254 since the 18th of November. So that's the sort of video numbers that is really good to help a channel grow. The LA to San Francisco one, it's a huge subject. People like doing the road trips in that part of the world. So I made that, well, we filmed it in 2019, June 2019, when we were in there over in California doing our whole massive road trip. I actually got round to editing it during the first lockdown 2020, and it had slow growth and then picked up. So Eventually we got there, got to where we wanted to be. So one of the things really, YouTube is full of lots of hints and tips, how to grow your channel, that kind of thing. And they say kind of find what works well and keep doing it. Well, I get that. I still feel in some ways I'm perfecting my style, but the content is always going to be very different. You can't really repeat. I can repeat elements of things when I do the walks and stuff, but it's not always possible to have that as a kind of mantra where you say, yeah, well, that works well, so I'm going to keep doing everything like that. So as I say, elements or themes will be reused, but I don't think it's possible with what I do to always do it as a kind of cookie cutter method, or boilerplate or whatever. There's all sorts of terms we can use. So the art really for me is telling a story or telling a series of stories. Now, that might be when I'm telling about a specific history related story, but a good story always has a beginning, a middle, an end, and a hero. So often the hero would be the town that I visit, and you can't really do a beginning, a middle, of an end, but I can walk through and show what's going on in that area and talk through some of the history of certain parts of those towns, and I like doing those, the walk and talks. So what I want to do, what I want to get more into is making that link more obvious between the local history and worldwide history. And I've got a couple of things coming up that will help put that into context in the next few months. So I'm just trying to position my paper here so that I can still see the any comments and things that are coming in. So yeah, the weather this time of year in the UK is pretty rubbish. I've struggled. I was trying to go out this week and do a bit of filming with my friend Graham in the Croydon area. Weather let us down, although actually this is the thing, the forecast let us down. The weather's been reasonable and we probably could have got away with some filming, but maybe next week might be a bit better, so that's the plan there. So with the research Graham's great because he kind of does some really good detailed research and he's got a load of knowledge anyway, and I can just deliver it on camera. So we've got a nice little partnership going there. So thank you, Graham, for your support. In terms of the format of videos, I've toyed with the idea of doing pure voiceover videos. So presenting the information, old photos, maybe clips, maps. I love maps. And just doing a voiceover to cover it. But I've managed to talk myself out of doing those each time I've got near to doing them. And I've always found a way to go out into the field, as it were, and to actually tell the story that way. Even if there may not be too much of relevance where I actually am, I almost feel more at home being in the location where this particular thing happened. So I won't, it's not like a never say never. There are some very, very big, strong YouTube channels where they do that kind of, documentary style presentation with personality and humor and stuff like that built in. But I don't know. I mean, I did one about a halfway house where I kind of talk like this in podcast form, and then just overlay with the information, do cutaways and the like. I guess the thing to do is perhaps try it on a short one. The public will decide, won't they? The video will go out there, and if people watch it, like it, and comment on it and engage, then I guess that is something that I can add to the kind of different versions of videos that I already have. So World War II is never that far away. Where we live in the UK, we're near to Croydon, we're near to South East London, and if you drew a kind of wedge-shaped object on a map, it would kind of expand out to the parts of Europe that were occupied by the Germans during the Second World War. And it would be that kind of flight alley into London. And that's why we've got three very prominent airports nearby, or RAF airports back in the day, aerodromes, airfields in Croydon, Biggin Hill, Kenley, and Red Hill to a degree. So those will have spin-off stories. So I like telling the World War II stories. I uncovered something recently that I don't think anyone has talked about on the world of YouTube. I actually did a search, nothing came up, so I'm looking forward to putting that one out there. So that's something. I also did a bit of an appeal in the most recent one on Biggin Hill, where I wanted to see if someone was willing to come along and bring their expertise to the video, and I'll do a future one. So, and I had a taker, a guy got in touch. So in spring next year, when the visual will be slightly better because the Spitfires, Hurricanes will be flying again. They do these trips there that you can pay for. So we're going to revisit Biggin Hill, and I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to kind of meet up and work out how we're going to do it in spring. So that's something to look forward to. And I'm always willing to bring people on whilst I like doing the research, and whilst that can be quite in depth at times. If there's other people that might like to come along and supplement it or take it over or whatever, we can work it out. So sometimes that's an option as well. I mean, the research itself is something that can eat up a lot of time. It can go into a spin-off sometimes where you don't quite know where you're going to end up, and you have to find a way of stopping at a certain point and saying, actually, no, that's enough. That's going to be released now. I can't really do any more. I can't really add on any more to that. What do they call it? Diminishing returns or something. So I enjoy the research, but it also, I think, if there's one of these spin-off subjects that takes my eye and my interest, maybe it might be the same for other people. And some of the videos, some of the research, some of the talks that I've done so far, there's been elements of that. Something else has triggered some interest, and I've ended up revisiting that subject and making a video, or talking about it in a public talking forum, public speaking forum, which I've done some of this year, which I'll cover in a bit. So, conscious I'm rattling through my notes here. Yes, the other thing which I brought in this year was to do one sort of countryside walk per month. And I've kept going so far. The Biggin Hill Perimeter Walk was kind of that version. So these aren't always going to be pure countryside walks, but there will often be a town element. But the main idea is that you're going to see countryside in our area in the walk, and they're never that far away from home. It would just be nice to get some of that crisp, winter weather that we see sometimes. But we have to bear with what we have. So I've got some ideas about where I'm going to go in January, and keep them peeled until it actually comes out there. But yeah, so I spoke briefly about the public speaking, public talking, which I've enjoyed immensely. When I first set out on this journey, I didn't really plan to do talking at history groups and the like. It's something that found me rather than me going to look for it. And I was invited along. I did actually jokingly say to someone once that I don't do public speaking, that's why I do the videos, because I'll just do it that way, and all you need to do is put it on your TV or your phone or your iPad, computer, whatever. But I've actually really enjoyed it. So I started up with the first one in January, ended up with the 6th one in October. I'm doing one next week at the Bourne Society, and I've got 4 plans so far for 2024. Different groups, so really looking forward to doing those. And it makes good use of the research that I've done. It's slightly different, I'm presenting it into a PowerPoint, and I'm there doing the talk. I suppose you could almost argue it's still a walk and talk in some ways, but it's a walk through some slides, and then I'm doing the talking in person, but really enjoyable. So some subjects that I will talk about I've covered already in videos, and in some cases there's more information that almost warrant a part 2, and others I've only really done in that medium, and I almost want to go back and revisit them in terms of a video. So we'll have to see how that goes. It depends on the subject, really, and again, maybe that's something that I do in voiceover format and try it out. The other thing is that client work comes in occasionally, and that will always take priority. If someone's hiring me to do a filming job, I've done a couple of theatre jobs in the last few months, that can be photography or video, then that takes over quite simply. So I've got my own preferred schedule. In an ideal world, I will get some kind of video or podcast out every other week. Sometimes it's a bit more than that, other times it slips a bit for whatever reason. So that is something that I like to do, client work, but I don't advertise for it per se. It tends to be people that just know what I do through my kind of network connections, and they would hire me that way. So yes, I'm just going to say in closing, really, a thank you for the support that you're giving to what I do. I'm fairly active on social media, and it's great to get some additional support there. Sometimes I don't publish the content. I might publish little extracts sometimes, little funny clips or things. I tend to keep the focus of the content, the delivered content on YouTube, but it's still a nice way to engage and connect with people via Facebook. I don't prescribe how people want to get in touch. I don't have a preferred method. People send emails and send stuff through the post and whatever. So it's whatever works for you, really. I'm flexible like that. And it's, yesterday I put something on Facebook about a local house where I'd found a particular story of interest, and I had a phone call from someone who they had a relative who wanted to, or was able to provide some more information, but they just were happy getting a phone call. So that's what we did. I picked up the phone, we had a chat, and I was able to expand and well, I suppose it is expand, enrich the story that I already had. So I'm looking forward to telling that one fairly soon. So yeah, thank you so much for the support up to and including 2023. I'm looking forward immensely to 2024 and what that holds. Hopefully some better weather to start with, but we are where we are. We're in the UK, we get mixed weather. And thanks for your continued support. This is now closing the episode 165, the year-end podcast for the Phil Swallow podcast series. And it remains for me to wish you a very happy and healthy 2024. And I will put this version live because I think I recorded it. Checks recording. Yes, there's a red light on. I've been checking the audio version of this podcast to go out, so that will go live at some point on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those various things, if you prefer to listen without seeing my face. I won't be offended either way. So thank you very much, and appreciate it. Thank you, Julie. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for logging in. And obviously, feel free, guys, when this goes up. I don't quite know how that happens. It might just happen. But this will go live in my YouTube channel at some point. So hello, goodbye, thank you. And I'll speak to you, see you, and engage with you at some point in the near future. Cheers. Goodbye.